going to talk about GuiaBolso, what we do in Brazil, and how we want to improve the financial lives of Brazilians and actually transform the financial services there. The way we think of Brazil is that the only way to really have a very meaningful impact in the Brazilians' lives is really by changing the system there and how it works. And let me tell you why. First, because consumers don't actually know what's happening in their finances. They really don't know. For example, one thing that we learned right in the beginning of GuiaBolso back in 2013 is that they overestimate how much they earn by 10%, for example. So consumers actually think that they make more money than they actually do. And that's because of taxes, because of the way they calculate the numbers, but what actually goes into their bank account is 10% less than they actually remember. So they don't know how to manage their money. They don't know how the products, the financial products work because it's very, very untransparent and very expensive. For example, credit cards on average there in Brazil, they have a 235% APR a year. That's the average credit card rate. And about half of the adults working in Brazil have a credit restriction. That means that they currently are defaulting in one credit line that they have. That's about 62 million Brazilians there currently defaulting. They really don't know what they're doing. They really don't understand finances. They don't understand the products. The market is really, really bad. And why? A reason why that's not working is because you have really five big banks that control most of the market. You have other players in the market that are coming in, smaller and medium-sized players as well, that actually have better financial products, but they don't have access to these consumers because these consumers are locked into these five really big banks. And when they have access, they actually don't understand and don't know how to assess these consumers because it might be someone that has a restriction. If it's not someone that has a restriction, what is their finances looking like? It's really hard to assess consumers there. So what we're building is a layer that kind of organizes the market, okay? So first, we have one important aspect, which is we provide consumers with financial tools to help them better understand their money, better understand what's happening, provide them with access to good financial products. And in the future, we want to do payments as well. On the partner sides and on the financial institutions, we give them access to these consumers in a way that they can actually understand what's the profile of the consumer, how much they earn, how much they spend, what is their credit worthiness. They can actually understand what is the consumer side of the market. And we can do this because we built a very unique technology there in Brazil, which I'm going to explain a bit now. So back in 2013, we built, to this day, the only account aggregation technology that exists in Brazil. That means that a consumer, when they come to GuiaBolso, to our platform, we're able to pull in all their account information from multiple banks, their credit card statements, investment, and so on and so forth. We have also partnered with the second largest credit bureau there in Brazil to have access to unlimited and free data from consumers so we can actually organize and have that all in one single platform so consumers can understand what's happening in their finances. This means that when a consumer logs into GuiaBolso, we have access to more than 3,000 variables on him, right? And really structured data that we can analyze and better understand what's really happening. And this is very unique. We are the only ones doing that in Brazil. So, for example, we can understand a cash flow from a user, right, from a consumer, how much he actually earns, not what he thinks he earns, but he actually earns, how much he spends, where is he spending, if he's saving or not, where are his spending habits, for example, transportation, is this person using ride sharing, how much he's using, which kind of company he's using, does he own a car or not? Telco, you name it, right? We really are able to understand their spending habits in a very detailed way. We have also been able to build a very robust credit model there. And like I mentioned, a lot of people have credit restrictions. So it's really hard for you to understand what's actually happening on a consumer side and assess their credit worthiness. So we built a credit model based on all this transactional data, on the credit bureau data, which is much more robust and somewhat similar to what there is here in the US, right? Where you have the credit reports from the 3 largest credit bureaus. And we can also, by knowing so much from consumers, understand when they need help the most, right? So for example, we know if someone is using overdraft fees or if he's on a revolving credit card line, and we can offer him a better loan in the time that he most needs it. So on the consumer side, what we built first was a finance management platform, right? A place where he can see everything organized, all his financial information in one single place. It's a very unique value proposition. We are the only ones doing that there in Brazil. And this creates a very strong and positive feedback loop with the partners as well, because consumers, as soon as they start using the app, we see very robust and very clear signals that their financial lives also improve. So for example, they start saving more money. Also, their credit score increases as well as they start using the app. Which means that if we offer a loan inside the platform through our bank partners, the likelihood of him paying back is actually much higher because he's controlling his money, he's managing their money better. If he decides to invest with our partners, he'll keep investing more money as well. So it's a very sustainable model that we are creating there. And we also offer a second layer, which is the product curation piece, which means that we're giving access to them to the best financial institutions, the best financial products that exist in the market, and giving transparency around those products, which weren't available before, because they were, again, locked into the 5 big banks without having many options, right? So, for example, one of the largest investment funds in Brazil, controlled by one of the big banks, charge you 3% a year of admin fee for a fixed income fund, which is just insane, right? That's almost half of the total return of the investment. It goes back to the fund. So by having that product curation piece, we're able to offer better financial products that are really curated and tailored to the consumer side. And we do this in a very integrated approach with our bank partners. So the bank partners use our credit models. The entire user experience when someone is hiring a loan is actually built by us, but with the brand of our bank partners. And the bank partners provide consumers with the balance sheet, so they are the ones actually doing the lending. They do all the operations as well. So it's a very interesting approach and model where we're basically taking the best of both worlds, right? One, our technology, our data capabilities, our data scoring capabilities, our ability to target consumers in a very timely fashion, but also what a bank knows how to do, right? Their balance sheets, their operations. So it's basically taking the best of both worlds to provide a very unique and good experience to users. And again, with much cheaper products than they actually have within the 5 big banks. Now, the main topic here for us was, and for during the Launchpad, is like, let's take this to the next level, right? We provide them with financial management, we provide them with product curation, but what else can we do? And the main insight was, let's make it very personal. Instead of talking one thing and showing one thing to all our consumers and having a platform where you're trying to adapt consumers to the platform, let's do the opposite. Let's adapt the platform to every single consumer. Similar to a Facebook, or Instagram, Spotify, or a Netflix experience, where if you really think about it, the product is the same, but if I were to look at your apps, it's probably a very different experience because the content is very tailored to you guys, very personalized experience. So we are doing the same thing there in GuiaBolso. So we created hundreds and hundreds of different content and insights to consumers. So for example, this one is we go and understand what is the telco behavior of this person, and we're able to have a very unique conversation around how can this person save in telco services. And content like that, we have really hundreds and hundreds. So now the main challenge is how we can match that to consumers' behaviors, to consumers' profiles and specific situations. Another content is the credit score, right? Very specific credit score and how you can actually improve your credit score and rating there. Another content, for example, which is actually very impactful there in Brazil, is we went and analyzed all the banking services that a consumer actually uses, right? And compare that to the fees that they're paying inside their banks. And the way it's structured in Brazil is that you have, within your bank, you have kind of like different fee packages that you just decide to hire, right? That gives you access to certain services. And what we saw is that 99.3% of users that are paying fees inside their banks, they would be better off paying a different fee package and having a different fee package which is much lower. This would mean if all of our users, current users, would switch to these cheaper fee packages, they would save $200 million a year. If we would extrapolate that to all the mobile banking population in Brazil, that's $3 billion a year of saving. And that's one content alone. Like I said, we are creating hundreds and hundreds of those type of contents that can really be personal, that are customized to each user, so we can actually have a very meaningful impact. So this was the main challenge that we proposed here to Google and how they could help us in matching this. And the idea is like, I'm showing here the customer traction, right? We have 3.2 million users that have linked their bank accounts, that we have all this detailed information. We just recently received the Best App for Self-Improvement Award from Google. But the potential is huge, right? And I'm not only thinking about like reaching 43 million users, for example, which is the currently mobile banking population in Brazil, but I'm interested in having a very profound impact in each one of these users, right? It's like 43 million users can be a number, but in practice, you're talking about lives. You're talking about how can we actually improve the lives of all those people. And for us, using data and leveraging our AI capabilities is the only way that we're going to be able to impact each one of them. So that's it. Thank you very much.